Good day everyone, I am Mary Jumilianes, and for today's video, I will discuss the theory of Winnicott, which is the true self versus the false self. Have you ever experienced being advised with someone that you need to be yourself? What does that really mean? Hearing that phrase sounds like vague or confusing. Well, we all know and we can't deny that we have a different kinds of personas. We're always making little adjustment to the way we present ourselves based on the people we are around. Maybe we find we rely pretty heavily on adjusting ourselves to the expectation of others. Sometimes we are in our true selves and false self. Winnicott proposes a theory about this. Let us know who is Winnicott. Dr. Donald Winnicott is an incredibly influential pediatrician and psychoanalyst who worked through the 1940s into the 1970s. He explained his theory about the true self and the false self in a paper he wrote in 1960. Dr. Winnicott expanded on the idea that people may develop a false self to protect their inner, more vulnerable true self, and that they might even do it in a very young age without even knowing it. As we proceed, we'll be able to know the meaning of true self and the false self. True self is the only self capable of creativity, and play helps a person this true self. However, false self was a mannerly, orderly, external self that enabled a person to fit into that society. So when we talk about the false self, a person might adjust her or his self to fit in the society. So the false self is created to protect the true self from insult and danger. Here are the examples of a true self. Emerges if a mother is responsive to the needs of the child. Parents should listen and be more respectful to their children. Parents shouldn't force their children to become someone else that they are not. Parents should provide a physical and psychological support. For instance, their child wanted to be a good singer. Then, if their mother is supportive, they can be in their true self because they are able to show and excel on what they like to do. They are real on who they are. A true self is creative, spontaneous, and real. According to Winnicott, babies are spontaneous. So it means that they don't think about what they are, they just do whatever they need to. Which, if you've ever been around a baby, tends to be a lot of needing help and reassurance. Needing help and reassurance is the essential stuff of our true selves, which are good enough mom does her best to make sense of and gratify. Nothing's perfect, but as long as our parents are trying and are successful most of the time, that response strengthens our belief that if we cry out, then someone will hear us, understand us, and do their best to help us. This strengthens our trust that our most basic and honest needs and desires are okay. A person with this kind of reassurance grows up feeling confident enough to put their true self out there in the real world, living openly according to their heart. Next is the false self. It is a product of early experiences, defensive organization formed because of inadequate parenting. So the false self is a self that is obedient to parents' wishes and demands. For instance, you want to be a police, but then you pursue a education or a teacher because that is what your parents wanted you to become. So that is one of the example of a false self. False self can be healthy and unhealthy false self. The healthy false self is still connected to the true self. For example, your false self is that you are very generous, but in reality you are not that generous, just an average, but at least you are trying to do something for you to become generous to other people. Next is the unhealthy false self. It makes one continually adjust his or her behavior to fit in. An example of this is that she posts a photo on her Facebook or Instagram and she tend to edit her photos to look slim and impress her social circle online. Another example is that when your friends are buying milk tea and then wala jud kay kwarta, but then nakay gigunitan, pero dili imuha, nga imo to siyang gigamit para lang makapalit ka o makasabay ka sa imong friends. So that could be an example of a false self. We always remember that we all have a true self that is complex and fragile but ultimately is our essence. In an attempt to share that self in the world, we engage our decoy selves to manage the day-to-day anxieties and challenges that come before us. And that would be all. Thank you and have a great day.